This is Building a Creative Life. I'm Pam Vale, a New England artist, bringing the world of creativity to your door through casual conversations with artists, creators, and everyday people, helping curious, midlife women begin their next creative chapter. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. Hello, creative friends. I'm Pam Vale, and welcome to the show. This week, I want to talk about a very specific creative outlet. And I know some people are going to think, oh no, that is not for me, because it has to do with an actual creative act, maybe even an artistic act. But stay with me. I challenge you to listen to the full episode and just see if there might be a little nugget of something that applies to you or that sounds interesting or accessible. There are some really good takeaways, not just from my own experience, but from several of the guests I've had on the podcast during this first 3 months. So what do you think of when I say the word sketchbook? Some of you might light up and think, yes, I love my sketchbook. I'm ready to jump in. But I'm guessing more of you are thinking, nope, not creative, not artistic. I can't draw a straight line. I can't even make a stick figure look right. This is definitely not for me. But here's the thing. Pretty much every guest I've had on since I started this podcast in May has talked about some kind of sketchbook. Really. Now, sometimes they've called it a journal. Sometimes it's more writing than drawing, but almost always it's some form of reflection and expression in a little book on paper. For example, my guest Urmila Menon shared about urban sketching. This is where you go out, often in a group, and you sketch what's right in front of you. If you're in a coffee shop, you draw the coffee shop. If you're in a park, you sketch the park. Urmila felt like this particular type of sketching was a little restrictive and had some added pressure of needing your drawing to look like some expected outcome. Urmila also keeps looser sketchbooks, more like a journal. They're free and more personal, but both have been a big part of her creative practice. They have helped her develop her style and work out her ideas. I also have a dear friend, probably the friend I've known the longest in my life, and we're about to go on an epic creative adventure together that I will definitely be sharing about after we get back. She listened to one of my podcast episodes, and she's now thinking about doing some kind of sketchbook or journal about the trip, but in her own creative way, maybe more with photographs or more writing. And while she is supremely creative, drawing isn't where she feels the passion right now. That's the thing. There are so many options for how you can use a sketchbook. You don't have to draw, but you can if you want to. You can combine words and images, or you can add photos. And they're so portable. Sketchbooks come in all sizes. Tiny ones you can keep in your bag, or big ones that live on your desk. You can use color or not, like markers and crayons and paint, or just pencil and ink. You can add stickers, or you can glue in receipts or tickets or paper scraps. It doesn't even have to be used for sketching at all. There are offshoots of sketchbooks. You could do a scrapbook for an event or a milestone. There are junk journals, which are a way to use up pretty remnants and decorative paper you've been saving. Crow journals are new to me. I learned about them from a friend, Jan, a creative powerhouse from my women's group here in Rhode Island. A crow journal is more about found items, like bits of nature or little scraps you pick up. I believe it's less decorative than a junk journal. And here's a twist. Another friend in our group suggested making a crow journal and then burning it at the end of the year as a creative ritual. And I love that idea. My guest Georgie St. Clair talked about having a sketchbook just for herself, no pressure and no audience. Sometimes she creates within certain boundaries, like limiting her colors or her materials, because those small constraints can make starting so much easier. When your field is wide open, it can be intimidating and overwhelming to begin. Stacy Vida spoke about play and self-discovery in her episode, about how not everything needs a specific outcome and the importance of discovery through creative expression. Mila Milak focuses on materials over subject. She might just spend time with one orange crayon, seeing what she can do with it. She works both digitally and on paper, using Procreate on her iPad, as well as keeping a physical sketchbook. For her, both spaces matter, and she prioritizes analog creative expression as part of her process. If I'm being honest, there's something that made me laugh at myself. I've been an artist my whole life, and professionally for almost 40 years. And it had never occurred to me to have more than one sketchbook going at a time, like for different reasons or different applications. I've always had several lying around, but I'd only use one until it was done, or I would do everything in that one, messy things and polish. A lot of my guests, though, keep multiple sketchbooks, one messy and one pretty. The messy one is for looser experimentation, and if they make something in there that they love, they just cut it out and paste it into the prettier one. What freedom! It automatically removes the pressure to not mess up the sketchbook, eliminating one barrier or creative block that many have. This shows you that there are no rules. And that's the theme here. No rules, no one way, no punishment, no limiting expectations. You don't have to start on page 1. You can work from the back. I do this because I prefer the texture on the back side of the paper of the sketchbooks that I use. Seriously, I start my sketchbooks by flipping them over and working from back to front, just for the better paper texture. You can open to a random page. You can doodle circles for half of the book. And you don't even have to call it a sketchbook. Call it a creative journal or an idea book or your crafty companion. It doesn't matter. So maybe you're listening and thinking, nope, still not for me. But what if you're already doing it? What if that doodling that you do in a meeting or while on the phone is actually your version of a sketchbook practice? Drawing repetitive patterns is meditative and relaxing. It can slow down your thoughts and give you space to process things. It's simple and forgiving, and something most do naturally without pressure, expectations, or criticism. Did you ever doodle in your notebooks in school? What if keeping a sketchbook could bring you more joy, more clarity, and more freedom? I believe creativity starts before any supplies are bought or any ideas are fully formed. It starts with the decision to notice and to be present. It's intention and not just action. So whether your sketchbook is full of detailed, realistic urban sketches, scraps from your travels, or just rows of connected circles, it's your space and it's your practice. And it can look like anything you want it to. You might just surprise yourself. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe for free and share it with a friend. It helps others find the show and grows our community. Remember, creativity is yours to define, there are no rules, and it's never too late. Until next time.